Wargaming has been putting a lot of monetization into World of Tanks Blitz, like a lot of monetization. And originally I thought to myself, well, it's probably because of Reforged, right? Because they screwed up a lot of the things that they shouldn't have on Reforged, and now they have to go back and fix a lot of the problems that they've caused. And, that makes sense. Until you realize the amount of money Wargaming has made over the past few months should easily overcome the amount that they're going to be putting into Reforged. Let's say you have 20 devs working on Reforged, and each of those devs are getting, I don't know, $50,000 a year. So that's $1 million a year that Wargaming has to pay those developers, okay? Well, just a couple weeks ago, Wargaming had the auction, right? The 136 tank auction. And I calculated the amount of money they made based off of gold, and it was close to around 12-ish million dollars. Okay? So that alone, $12 million. So that means if Wargaming has 20 employees working on Reforged, they made enough money to pay those employees for 12 years. Yeah, I don't believe that the money that they're making here is for Reforged. I just believe Wargaming's being the greediest scumbag company lately, and they're trying to get every single penny they can out of the player base. Now, is that because they potentially think their game's going to die when Reforged comes out? I don't know. But I can tell you that the amount of monetization that they've been putting into the game is absolutely ridiculous, and somebody needs to step up and say something because it's getting a little wild, right? First of all, we had the Waffenträger Alpha E100, the MBTB, and BZ176 all sold in an event that was hundreds of dollars. And not to mention, if you wanted to get the Waffenträger, you couldn't because it was no charms. I saw somebody that spent over $1,000, did not get the tank. I know multiple people that have spent thousands of dollars and did not get the tank. Then Wargaming decides to release the BZ176 and NBTB already after it was released just a few weeks later in their own individual crates to get even more money out of tanks that they already sold before. Then, after all of that, Wargaming also decided they should add the BZ74-1 into the game. The biggest pile of trash ever. Not only that, but they decided to make it over 500,000 gold to get your hands on the vehicle. And that's to the veterans. These are the players that saved up their resources, their XP, their premium. They drained all of that away from the veterans so that they could basically get a paperweight that sits in their garage. And now we have the FE201 Chieftain Proto, a vehicle that Wargaming is also trying to rip the player base off on. Why are they trying to rip the player base off? Well, if we actually make our way over to Blitz News, we can see exactly what's going on. So Wargaming is putting the Chieftain Proto in a gold draw. It contains these rewards: the FE201 Chieftain Proto, and a legendary camo for the tank. Oh yeah, and 200,250 gold. Now, we've seen a gold draw in the past. It looks something like this, right? You had to use these little coupons in the bottom, and then you could open the draw. And this is most likely what it's going to look like for the Chieftain Proto. One of these slots will probably have the camo, but yes, it's going to look something along these lines. In other words, it is going to be a draw, which is going to cost, I don't know, $1,000+ to get your hands on the Chieftain Proto. If you wanted to complete the previous 200,000 gold draw, it would have cost you $1,500. The previous gold draw would have cost you that much money. So the question is, how much money are you going to have to spend to get the Chieftain Proto? Is Wargaming going to make it the last drop chance? I wouldn't be surprised if they made it the last drop chance to get your hands on, meaning that you would have to spend over $1,500 to get your hands on the Chieftain Proto. If Wargaming does this, I'm going to be incredibly pissed. Flossie is going to be incredibly pissed, and basically all of the whales that like supporting this game are going to be freaking pissed. Why are we putting this vehicle in a $1,500 draw? I don't know. But it is something that needs to be talked about, because at the end of the day, this is freaking ridiculous. This is a tank that I actually really like. I mean, I've already made my video on it. I'm waiting for Wargaming to release it. I don't know when they're going to, but this is a vehicle I have thoroughly enjoyed playing. And it pisses me off that the only way I would be able to get my hands on this vehicle when it first gets released is behind a draw, which is basically impossible to get the tank, right? That's as simple as it is. I might as well take my $1,500, put it in the S&P 500, and wait a couple years and make some money off of it. There's no point to spend that much money on a freaking video game. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry, Wargaming. It's freaking ridiculous. I'm lucky that I have a press account and I'm able to, have access to all the tanks in the game. Like, obviously, I have the AE Phase 1 on my press account, which I don't have access to on my main account. And that's nice. But I'm going to be honest, I'm going to stop spending money on Blitz, right? I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on Blitz over the years, and it's a ridiculous amount of money. I've single-handedly funded a employee's paycheck for a year in Blitz. And in return, Wargaming doesn't give us any gratification, any rewards. What they say is, nope, we're going to make it so that you have to spend $1,500 on a new Tier 9, because that's what good companies do. I'm very irritated. It's the same thing for, like, Commanders. It's the main reason why I'm so nervous about when it comes to Commanders and Reforged, is because the amount of greediness Wargaming already wants, it would not surprise me at all when Reforged comes out if later down the line Wargaming adds paid Commanders, which are absolutely overpowered as hell, and they kill their game. That's the biggest problem that I have with Reforged. And I have zero doubt in my mind that at some point Wargaming will add paid Commanders into the game. It will happen at some point. The question is when. I don't know, but it's just, this is a very irritating time for me because this is the most monetization we've ever had in Blitz. If you look at any other previous year, we've never had a moment where Wargaming has asked this much money from the player base, right? 136 tank auction, 2 tier 10s released within a month of each other, and the BZ-176. Like, the amount of vehicles, the amount of money and monetization that Wargaming has been putting into the game is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous, and somebody needs to say something about it, because this is to a point where I'm not comfortable with the actions that this company is making. The new tank releases should be, by law, like $100 at max, and everybody should be able to get their hands on them. Like, it's just, how greedy can you be as a company that one single tank you value as $1,500? The crazy part is there's people that are willing to spend their money on it. But what I will say is that there are going to be less and less people willing to spend money on these vehicles, which means that Wargaming is going to be making less and less money. And they're going to try and make more by putting more exuberant vehicles and price tags into the game. Eventually, it's just going to suck for them, because eventually players like myself are going to realize that it's not worth it to spend money on a single tank. It's just not. I will not buy the Chieftain Proto if it comes out in that draw, because it's just a waste, right? I would have normally spent, $100 on the tank, but I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on a single tier 9. It's just not happening, especially one that, it's all right, but, it's nothing like crazy. Definitely nothing that would warrant $1,500 frickin' dollars. I mean, that's insane. Either way, sorry, I had to make a bit of a rant here. Every now and then I do a rant, and this is one of those moments, right? We have the Type 5 Heavy, which is going to be a collector instead of a tech tree. That pisses off a lot of people, too. I don't know how much money they're going to ask for that tank, but I bet you it's a lot. So, we'll see. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I want you guys to tell me your personal feelings and opinions down below. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.